My opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal and it's been going on for too long. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, the artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer.
Sufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
David, as one of the original architects of the XRP Ledger, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in the last year?
Oh, it would definitely have to be the increase in decentralization, becoming more decentralized than either Bitcoin or Ethereum. The number of validators operated by Ripple on the Ripple recommended UNL has dropped to a very small percentage, and so the network now is operationally decentralized in a way that those other cryptocurrencies just aren't.
David, how does Bitcoin or Ethereum differ from XRP?
The biggest difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum and the XRP Ledger is proof of work versus consensus. Bitcoin and Ethereum use proof of work, which hasn't delivered on its promise of decentralization the way consensus has. They also have much, much higher latency. So a Bitcoin transaction, you're looking at between 10 minutes to an hour to become confident that the transaction will succeed, versus on the order of 5 seconds with the XRP Ledger.
Last question then. 2019, what are you looking forward to on the XRP Ledger?
I'd like to see more use of the decentralized exchange. We have this proliferation of digital assets. We might have a proliferation of stablecoins as well. The XRP Ledger has been operating as a decentralized exchange since 2012, and I'd like to see that continue and grow.
We decided to use the blockchain to do the settlement for this. We started off with Bitcoin, of course, which didn't work. It was just too slow, and pivoted over to the XRP Ledger to use the for the settlement rail. It turned out to be a good choice, and obviously because of the speed and the cost of the transactions and the throughput, which absolutely works for a retail environment.
Okay. What is the exact cost of transaction using Zago?
Yeah. Not a difficult question actually, and one I'm prepared to do. So if you want to move money from you want to put Rand into here and send it to Bitmama in Nigeria, it's going to cost you 0.25%. And you compare that to a bank, which is going to be typically between 4 and 9%. And then you can see it straight away why the benefit is. Second part of the benefit is it will be there, if we're unlucky, 5 seconds. If we're lucky, less than 4.
You're talking about speed right now.
Yeah, definitely. So speed is a very important part of the Zago message. If you put a transaction in right now and say send it to Bitmama, it will be in Bitmama in 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
On a good day, it could be lower than that. So, on a bad day.
That's on a good day.
A bad day, maybe five.
It actually averages at 3.8 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
Shut off that part of his brain and just follow the steps. You don't need fucking case studies. You have a fucking template. You have a motherfucking script that a fucking monkey can read. That Alex wants a fucking case study because he wants to know the shit behind it because he's stupid. And that's why he's fucking poor. You don't need any motherfucking case studies.
Boost as Bitcoin prices doubled in the first quarter. Joe, back to you.
A lot of ripples. Uh-oh. Is Ripple a cryptocurrency too? I think it might be. I didn't mean it.
XRP, Joe. It's
I didn't
XRP.
mean that. Oh, no.
Take it back.
That move from 5,000 to 60,000, I mean, it did. Look at
this industry is insane. So there's Bitcoin maximalists, but everybody agrees, like, you know, XRP sucks, and I don't really get it, right? I mean, they're a legitimate company. They don't pretend to be something they're not, and they're really good at one thing: moving money fast and cheap. And it's fantastic. It fills a big need. And for a hedge fund like us to be able to denominate in Ripple and XRP, I just did the same thing, is really, really, really good. We did our first close. We moved north of $50 million into the company in Ripple and XRP in like 2 seconds, and it cost 30 cents. Now that is amazing. There's no way to do that with fiat or Bitcoin. There's just no way to do it that fast and that cheaply, and so it serves a really useful need for us. And then also when our LPs eventually redeem, hopefully never, but when they want some of the money back, we just send it in XRP again, and there's no 3-day wait for international wires or 1-day wait for US wires. We're not paying wire fees and all that. It's just, I don't understand why that's hard to understand. And so the religious wars aside, the tribalism aside, it does some things really well, and we love it for that. That being said, just because we're denominated in XRP, I'm not a special pleader for XRP. I don't work for them. The company itself is not our LP. Other people who had XRP are. I like them. I think they're great, but they're like less than 5% of our asset base at this point. Like, we do invest in XRP, but most of our investments are in other things.
Honest opinion is going to hit, say, a month after regulation.
Yeah. So we believe that the last domino to fall on regulation right now is the SEC lawsuit, and that could be resolved in a variety of ways, but it could also be resolved in regulation coming in over the top. We know it's imminent, though, right? So when I say imminent, I would be surprised if a quarter from now we're really still embroiled in the SEC lawsuit, because I think the state of affairs throughout the world is such that we're going to need a solution like an XRP for liquidity purposes sooner rather than later. So the question is then, okay, we've magically resolved it. Where does the price go? It's easy to project that it's a double-digit number. So, you know, I think it immediately shoots up to a $10, potentially $20. The wild card to me is that there is actually a deal to be done among the central banks and governments to basically have XRP work as the world's bridge currency, a neutral asset that could be traded between the central banks to move a specific type of fiat to another type of fiat. If that's what occurs, it's back to what we were discussing earlier. It's got to cover kind of all the money. And I think you're looking at a range that XRP would settle on agreement. So this would happen instantaneously, somewhere between $10,000 and $35,000 a coin. And our lives will be, you know, maybe the same, maybe different. I don't know, probably a little different.
$20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now, and that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order, and take advantage of these technologies.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
I will explain cryptocurrency by clicking the link to TV's most beloved scientist, Mr. Jim Parsons.
People think I'm a nerd, but I'm actually super cool. That's why I'm here to talk about the really cool subject of distributed consensus-based cryptocurrency. Ka-chinga. Could a nerd do that? I don't think so. For cryptocurrency to work, we need a record of every transaction that occurs. These are recorded in what's called a distributed ledger.
I'm a consensus of shared and synchronized digital data spread across multiple platforms from Shanghai to Grenada. Each day I'm closer to being cash of the future, not in your wallet, I'm in your computer. Oh yeah!
When you use the currency, the transaction is recorded in the ledger.
I can dig it.
And when one ledger book gets filled up, we add to a chain of previous books. That's the blockchain.
Later, glitches.
If you'd like to learn more about how cryptocurrencies work, here's everything else you need to know. And goodbye from me, super cool Jim Parsons.
Sufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
We need a great reset.